right? And they're not really familiar with buy downs and rate buy downs and different things like that. So I just want to just give you kudos, Drew, because I was able to use that information and encourage them to contact Movement Mortgage in their local area, even if it wasn't in where you are. And it was really some great information. So thank you.
Thank you, Becky. I appreciate it, and great collaboration. Hopefully, that's always our goal, is we want to give you the value each time we come on here. I think we've got another good one today that we can put together some type of post or information to send out to your sphere. First, I always start off with thank you for letting me be here. Very appreciative. Cari, happy anniversary to you. Hope you enjoyed the time away. Looked like a great trip. It's hard to go wrong in California.
That's right.
We have our event coming up on December 6th. This is our third one. It's going to be about renovation loans. So I'll post that link if you're local to the Charlotte area. We'd love to see you there. We're going to have the head of renovation lending for Movement joining me to run through different scenarios where that can help you either sell more homes or use that with your buyers to say, hey, just because this home doesn't have the perfect bathroom or the perfect kitchen for you doesn't mean it's not a good opportunity for you to buy it. So I'll post that link here in a second. I'm going to also post a link to an article that I saw on Yahoo Finance. It was from Business Insider, and the article was titled "Buckle In for a Brutal Free Fall to Home Prices." So the reason I say that is, why would we ever want to post that and have someone thinking that is, well, I want to give you the tools to dispel a lot of the things that are talked about in that article. So that article, it cites 7 housing experts. I'd call them economists. I don't know about housing experts, but they're calling for anywhere from a 10 to 20% decline in home values across the board. Shock and all headline gets everybody excited to talk about it and gets everybody saying, hey, we don't want to do anything, right? Well, let's kind of think back. 20% is kind of a doomsday scenario. That was the peak in 2007 to the trough in 2009. And as a lot of us know and have talked about on these calls, those dynamics continue to be wildly different in the market today than what they were then. And just to give you some of those, in 2007, there were 4 million homes for sale. Today, there's 1.22. Back then, builders were building at record numbers, even with demand falling. Demand is waning, but guess what? Builders learned their lesson. Single-family home starts are down 22%. Permits are down 21%. So they're not putting themselves in a situation where they're overbuilding again. Your average equity in 2008 was 19%. Today, it's 58%. Case-Shiller, which is the leading index for U.S. home values, only has homes down 1.5% from their peak. Now, a little piece of Case-Shiller, that is a lagging report. It's 2 months old data. So we do anticipate a little bit further softening, but nothing remotely close to the 20% like the article mentions. And then we are actually projecting rates to be in the 5% range in the first half of 2023. We think there's a lot of buyers in hibernation right now due to the higher rate window that we've been in here over the last 6 to 8 months. So there's an anticipation that a reacceleration and home price values will come alongside with rates dropping again. And I mentioned that we're projecting rates to be in the 5% range. Cari, as soon as I have this information, I'm going to send it out to you. Movement's got a great relationship with a guy named Barry Habib, who runs a site called MBS Highway. He's who I go to for information surrounding the mortgage market and who I've been following for years. And he's really hit everything on the head so far. He's going to do a presentation for agents across the country for Movement, making the case for why he thinks rates will be in that 5% range in the first half of 2023. So as soon as I have that, I'll share that out with y'all. It will be a virtual event that everyone would be invited to. So we certainly hope to see you there. He did it actually for Movement last week prior to Thanksgiving. And I just walked away so fired up. So I can't wait for him to do it for y'all too, because I do think we're in for a really nice year in 2023 still.
That's awesome. I will post it in EXP Family Tree. So yeah, Drew, send that off to me and I'll make sure it's there.
Awesome. And I'll get y'all the link here for the event, as well as the link for this article with the details that we just talked about too.
Awesome. Any questions for Drew?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I too had seen a shocking headline over the holiday weekend, and it was something to the tune of 86,000 people under contract canceled their contracts in the month of October because they were concerned that they were either A, overpaying, or felt as though they couldn't afford the house because of the rising interest rates. And then it was saying that was a historic number. It seemed like a lot, but again, is it relative? Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question, Helen. And I did not see that or get to read that article yet. So I'd need to dive into it. I'm curious to know how much of that is perhaps new construction cancellations where maybe they went under contract when rates were 3 to 4%. They're getting closer to completion and finding out that rates are 7% now and they just can't afford it. I'd be curious to know what that looks like in that data, but I can't speak to it because I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I do know, like locally, Helen and my husband's team, and they do a fair amount of business. They had quite a few fall through, and it was probably around that time frame. And I think there was a little bit of buyer panic. You know, they did have a lot of properties come back on the market, go off because they fell through, and they put them back on. They did put them back on substantially less in sales price and still resold them. But there was an adjustment period there, and I think some of those people in that transition, that might be why, because we had such an abrupt transition, and it was, you know, it was so crazy. And then it was so abrupt that's probably why it's historic. And I'm just speculating, of course. But I can just comment that was local to us as well. John has a question.
So there was certainly some shock and awe surrounding that as well. Like Drew said, you know, it's to make people freaked out.
Exactly. That's the media, right? John, did you have something to add? I see your hand up.
Yeah, that was really good. Really, really good. Drew, I can't write fast enough. My God.
I'll get all that info in the chat for you. Don't worry.
That was really good information. So a couple thoughts and then a question. I think I heard 86,000 cancellations. If I heard that correct, it's 1.7% of the total number of homes being sold in 2022. And I think it's really important that we put things in perspective because depending on how anybody wants to spin this information, it's either good news, bad news, or no news. You know, perspective is the only thing that can dramatically change the outcome of an event without changing any of the facts. Now, my question for you, Drew, is what would you say to Doug Duncan? You know who I'm speaking of?
I'm not familiar with Doug Duncan.
Okay, so he is, I think, the chief economist for Fannie Mae.
Okay.
And he is projecting a drop, and sorry about the dogs barking. Working from home is a new thing for me, so I think this is something that you probably can relate to. I'm again sorry. My wife has about a dozen packages delivered a day.
I was gonna say that's gonna be all of us this winter. Oh, sorry, the dogs are barking again.
Crazy. Okay, so there were 6.2 million homes sold in 2022. And they started 2021, excuse me. And 2022 is looking like it's going to be about 4.9 million homes sold US. Wow. Doug Duncan is projecting a drop to 3.6 million in 2023, right? And I think it's important, along with all of these other negative things that are going on out there, to prepare all of our agents to overcome these fear-based projections that are going on in the real estate industry right now. Yep. People are always buying, people are always selling. It just depends on each individual. If they want to succeed, then the opportunity is there. Yeah. But and I'm sorry for talking. It was more of a question and I ended up talking. I was just curious if I could rephrase the question, what your thoughts were on Doug Duncan's projection, but
it's very interesting. And I think it'll continue to be an ever-changing dynamic. I think a lot of people are still convinced that mortgage rates are tied to the federal funds rate, which we will likely see continuing to rise. However, mortgage rates are tied to inflation numbers and they are not tied to the federal funds rate, which that's one of the things that Barry hit on with this conversation with us for Movement, and that'll hit on with the presentation for y'all. Helen, I saw your comment. Barry is indeed the bomb. The guy is unbelievable at reading financial data and projecting it out. So when a lot of people thought inflation peaked back in June, he said, no, we're in for a summer of hurt. And November is when you'll actually start to see some positive inflation data come out. like a drum. Positive inflation data came out in November. Mortgage rates dropped the most they've ever dropped in one single day. And you start to see buyer activity pick back up. Mortgage applications up 2.2%. People are starting to hear these things and say, okay, hey, we were spoiled in this low rate environment that we had for the last 10 years. My personal prediction is if we get interest rates back in 5.5%, you're going to see a lot of home activity happen next year. Because you can convince somebody that, hey, we're out of space and I've got a 3.5% mortgage rate. I can go to 5 for more space. It's tough to convince that to say, hey, I'm at 3.5. I'm going to go to 7 for an extra 500 square feet or 800 square feet. You know, that's where I think the shock factor and the cancellations has happened is that jump right there, right? It was historic. We'd never seen anything like it. We're now at 20 or we're at 20-year highs for mortgage rates. That's come down. So I think a lot of it will be tied to what do rates do, and that will all be tied to getting the inflation number down. What I'm curious to see from a Fed perspective is they keep saying we need to get inflation down to 2%. Is that realistic in this day and age? I don't think a lot of people think that's realistic. So does that new normal become 3%? Is that new normal 4% for inflation? That's more intriguing to me than anything, but I do think we'll see lower mortgage rates in the early to middle part of next year.
Awesome. Well, that's all encouraging. And as always, we always talk about, you know, what are you doing? We have this call on Mondays for a reason, to have this conversation, to learn something from Drew, to learn something from our guests, and then to take what we learned and do one thing with it so that we can get ourselves into a weekly activity. So what can you do with this information? I'm going to go ahead and post what, if you didn't grab the link or you forget to, I'll post it in the EXP family tree as well. But Drew has some links. He has some information, read the article, figure out how you're going to spin it, do a video, send something out to your database, call your buyers that were on the fence, whatever you can do to get into action. That's the only thing that leads to a result. And we're here to have these conversations so that we can take this information, we can go do something with it and, you know, make something happen. So any additional questions for Drew? You know how to reach him. Drew, can you just put your contact information in the chat once again? We have a lot of new people joining and I want to make sure they have it. Drew is able to service people throughout the country, not in every state. If he can't service you, I'm sure he could help you find somebody, or you could find somebody with movement in your area, or just go to your preferred lender and start talking with them about this, get their spin, do some things with them. But as always, Drew, we appreciate you being here every single Monday, and your consistency is greatly appreciated.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
And so without further ado, we're going to get into our revenue share portion, which is why you guys are here. Don't forget, every single Monday in EXP Family Tree, and hi to those of you guys watching live. You can join Zoom, you can watch live. It's live streamed, it stays there forever. You can watch it whenever you want. We take this recording, we post it on my YouTube channel. Just search my name, you'll find me, and you'll be able to see all the past recordings as well. So that if you want to share it with somebody outside of EXP, you can also do that. Congrats to all of you. We're at almost 7,800 members in EXP Family Tree. Keep telling your friends. We have just an awesome network going on here. We're super grateful for all of you. Thanks to those of you that are attending today. Makes it a lot more fun for Becky, myself, and of course the speakers. So Pat, congratulations. Sounds like you are just coming up on year 7 at EXP, year 10 in the real estate industry out of San Antonio, Texas. Beautiful area of the country. And, you know, this is what I love to hear. 65 people that you've directly brought over to EXP. And that number is now over 5,000 in your entire revenue share organization after 7 years. You guys, when we talk to you about the compounding effect of revenue share, it's real. Every single Monday, you hear these stories over and over again. How many of you plan to still be in the business in 7 years? Like probably all of you. And so we all have this time on our side if we get to work. And so we're super excited, Pat, to hear from you. Anything else you would like to share about yourself, please do. And we'll kick it off to let you take over. And if you need to share your screen, you should be able to do that, by the way.
Okay, we'll do. Well, Cari, thanks so much for the invite. And Drew, yeah, great nuggets, man. That was awesome, man. Great job. And would love to definitely connect with you offline about, you know, doing business together. But yeah, for those of you that don't know me, and again, I see a lot of faces here that I recognize, a lot of names here. And I know that we're live streaming in Workplace by Facebook as well, too. Yeah, Pat Hayes, been in the industry for almost 10 years from San Antonio, Texas. And I love to share my story for a few different reasons. For one, EXP has truly changed my life. And I'll tell you my whole story. I know those are big words, but you know, for me as a young realtor, I just turned 42 years old last Monday. And I'll share with you kind of my whole story, my whole journey. But real estate and EXP truly came into my life at the right time and truly changed my life. I love to share it, and I just want to motivate and inspire everybody, right? I know I've got some big numbers, and I tell agents, hey guys, if I can do it, you guys can do it, right? I have no special, accolades. I'm not a Brent Gove. I'm not a Rob Flick. I'm not a Gene Frederick. I'm not a Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, any of those big names. But you know what? I just connected with them, and I learned the process, and I learned a lot by listening and attending a lot of these presentations as well too. So so I've been able to personally sponsor 65 agents to the organization that's grown into over 5,200 agents spanning 47 states, 5 Canadian provinces, and 16 countries. That EXP pays me 6 figures every single month in the revenue share on top of my production and on top of my stock as well too. So for those of you that are not growing your revenue share, I just want to inspire you and motivate you if that's all I do today. And it's been an amazing ride, amazing journey, and I've had a lot of fun, right? This is an amazing company, and we've all come into this organization somehow, some way, by somebody that introduced this to us some way. And so how this got introduced to me, so I started my career in real estate about 10 years ago. I was with a small boutique brokerage firm, but before that, I did the whole traditional, go to college and go make mom and dad happy. And so I did, and went to a Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. And so I did that, graduated, went into medical sales for 6 years. My mom and dad wanted me to go get that corporate America job. And so that's what I did. In 6 years, I was just burnt out of medical sales and working for the man. I wanted to be the man. And so I had the opportunity after my 6th year in medical sales to leave corporate America, a 6-figure income job, the bonuses, the trips, all the awards and all that stuff. And I had the opportunity to buy a senior home care franchise, which my dad was the CFO of the whole entire organization in San Antonio, Texas. Didn't know anything about it, but I knew that my dad knew the business, and this was my only way for me to get out of corporate America. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And so I ended up buying this franchise that was poorly ran, and I took it over from the corporate office, and I ended up growing it from about $250,000 in annual revenue to $1.3 million in 3 years, and ended up selling it as my exit strategy. And I wanted to get into real estate. And so I've always had a passion for real estate, but in between doing that, exiting that business and getting into real estate, I was a private investor for a digital media marketing startup company. Within about 6 months of my $300,000 investment, I lost it all. The company went belly up, and the programmers went belly up and left, and I was basically stuck with nothing. And so I knew I did not want to go back to corporate America. I knew that I wanted to make real estate work. So one of my buddies actually introduced me to a small boutique independent brokerage firm in San Antonio that was looking to start growing their brand and growing their company. And so I wanted to start small. I didn't want to go to a big Keller Williams at Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Remax office, all great companies out there. And so I wanted to start small. So I started with that boutique brokerage firm, where my first year as a single agent, I did $3.2 million in production. Really found my passion selling real estate, did not want to go back to corporate America. So I made it work, right? I was doing open houses 7 days a week. I was grinding. I didn't have a lot of money for marketing. I just lost all this money, and I didn't have a big budget for marketing. And so I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to connect with a production home builder and a sales associate and own this neighborhood. And so I did. Back at the time, it was Ryland Homes. Not sure if you guys are familiar with Ryland Homes. And so Tim Hinojosa was the sales consultant. I literally went to his model home and I said, hey man, I'm a new hungry realtor. Can I help you do open houses for your model homes? Can I help you market your inventory homes? I'll do open houses 7 days a week. And he literally looked at me and laughed at me and says, you're a realtor. There's no way you're going to do open houses 7 days a week. Well, I did. And then I got so busy that it was 6 days a week, and then 5 days a week, and then 4 days a week, then 3 days a week, because I was out with buyers. I picked up these buyers for free. And then it was just basically Saturdays and Sundays, all day in that neighborhood. And we owned it. We sold so many houses, and I got so many listings, and that's how I grew my business. And then my second year, I did $12.5 million in production. I started my team, started the Pat Hayes Group, hired 2 buyers agents, and I was out there on listings and putting signs in the front yard, lock boxes on the front door. And I grew my team from $3.2 million in production my first year to $12.5 million. And at the end of my second year, I was on a up-and-comers list in San Antonio for new realtors coming out of the gate, kind of exploding your business. And I was like number 3 in San Antonio for the second year in the business. and doing volume over 10 million. And so I had some things happen kind of towards the end of my second year with my brokers, which they were kind of doing some bad things, and I needed to find another home pretty quickly. And so Scott Lewis, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Scott Lewis, he actually ended up calling me that exact same day that I found out that my brokers were in the news for doing some stuff that they shouldn't have done. And I was the name of the company. I was the face of their company. And so I was their number one agent, helped them get their office to about 65 agents. And he called me that day wanting me to have an open mind to take a look at a new business model that was disrupting the real estate industry and changing the way that agents were being compensated. So I said, absolutely, I'll definitely take a look at it. I had never heard of EXP. That's why I was like, EXP, I'd never heard of it. And he's like, oh yeah, we're new to San Antonio and we left Keller Williams. And I've got some of my leaders coming to town tomorrow. Would you mind, meeting with us, giving me 45 minutes to an hour to share the model? I said, well, sure, absolutely. Can you send me some videos, send me some information so I can take a look at it before? He said, I sure can. And so he sent me this short little 15-minute EXP explain that Tracy Lewis had done. And I was like, wow, I was blown away. I said, this is absolutely amazing, because I thought in my mind that I was going to have to go to Keller Williams, because whenever I found out the news, that was really my only place. I had a lot of friends over there at KW in San Antonio. I knew the broker there. I knew the broker owner there, the franchisee owner there, Craig Owen. And he had been trying to get me over to KW my 2 years I was over there at that boutique brokerage firm. So I thought in my mind, hey, I got to make a move. I'm going to KW now. And so Scott intercepted that, that thought and shared it with me, and I was blown away. And so I ended up meeting with him that next day. My dad and I went to, my dad's my CFO of my real estate business. We went to that coffee shop there. I'll never forget that day in December, almost 7 years ago. And I was like, you know what, I need to make a move. Never heard of EXP. Shared the video with my dad. My dad was like, wow, this is a pretty cool concept. I think this might be something. Let's go talk to these gentlemen. And whenever I got there, there was two other gentlemen there at the table by the name of Rob Flick and Gene Frederick. Well, these guys are, legends, in the industry, also legends here at EXP, helped us grow to where we are. And so I heard their story. I heard them out. I wondered why they left Keller Williams. Why did they sell all their regions and franchises? Why did Rob Flick come out of retirement to do EXP? Well, it was because our business model. And I found out what they had done over there at KW. And I said, this is a great opportunity for me to do the exact same thing with you guys and your leadership and your knowledge over here at EXP. And so it was a no-brainer for me. It was a no-brainer. And so I said, hey, you know what? I had a small little team. And so I needed to make a move. And so I ended up meeting with them, and that 45-minute meeting turned into 4 hours. And I was blown away with their story. I was blown away with their leadership. We became friends very, very, very quickly. And I said, I think this is it, Dad. I think we need to make the move and bring my team over to EXP. And so I committed to them. 1 hour later, after I had that meeting, Craig Owen at KW called me and said, hey, I just found out news about what happened to your brokers. You need to make a move for your family and your reputation and your business. Make the move over to KW and let's meet. I said, oh my goodness. I said, Craig, I just had a meeting with all the leaders at EXP. Do you know Rob Flick, Gene Frederick, and Scott Lewis? He said, oh yeah, they all left KW to join EXP a few months ago. Why would you want to go there? It's a small little company. It's a mom and pop shop. There's less than 1,000 agents, and it's a penny stock. And he just went on and on and on about bashing EXP. And I said, well, you know what, Craig, I think I've made my decision. I think I'm going to go to EXP, but I will listen to you. I respect you as a friend, as a business owner, as a broker in San Antonio. I've got a great relationship, and we've had drinks before and dinners before and all that stuff, and it just wasn't the right time for me to make a move. And so I said, hey, you know what? I can't go to your office because everybody's going to think I'm making a move over to KW, but I can meet you somewhere else. He said, hey, why don't you and your dad come over to my house tomorrow? And let's sit in the backyard and kind of mastermind and just see if we can make something work. I said, hey, you know what? That sounds good. I'll definitely do that. And so I let Gene and Scott and Rob know that I was going to go meet with them. They tried to talk me out of it. No, don't go meet with him. He's going to talk you into, Keller Williams. And so I met with him, and again, it was about a 3-hour meeting in his backyard. Never forget. And I was like, all right, Craig, well, I need to kind of get going. What are you going to offer me? Because I need to make a decision, here within the next day or two. And he said, well, I'm going to offer you, free signs, new branding, new cards, I'll put you at 100% for the first year for your whole entire team. I'll set you up in an office in a brand new little suite that they had, for a whole year for your team. I'll try and help you out. I'll get your business up and running, and I'll let you do some trainings and some leadership meetings with the group in San Antonio. And, because I started to make a big name for myself. And I said, okay. And I was like, all right, just kind of thinking about it. And I said, all right, Craig, I've got 3 questions for you. Will you help me, answer these questions? He says, yeah, what do you got? I said, hey, Craig, can you give me revenue share and not profit share? He says, no, we can't do that. That's not our business model. I said, okay. Second, can you give me stock? Can you give me equity in Keller Williams? He says, no, I can't do that to you. We're not a publicly traded company, and I can't do that. I said, okay. Third, can you give me conversion KV Core for free to help me generate massive amounts of buyer and seller leads for myself and for my team? He said, no, that's not our business model. It's too expensive. If I did that for you, I'd have to do that for everybody. I can't do that. I said, all right, Craig, you just helped me make my decision. I'm going to EXP. And so fast forward, I jumped into EXP December of 2015, and I started growing like crazy. And it's been, it's been a game changer ever since. It's been a lot of fun. I had a few agents follow me from my boutique brokerage firm, but what I've been able to build in such a short amount of time. And I tell the agents, hey, if I can do this, guys, anybody can do this, right? I had 2 years, just 2 years of real estate sales experience. I wasn't a big recruiter like Rob Flick, Gene Frederick, and Scott Lewis. I kind of fell on my face, the first 6 months because I was so excited about EXP, and I'm still excited to this day, and I still talk fast, and I still have a lot of energy, because just like what Gene Frederick says, EXP is making real estate fun again, and it's truly, truly a lot of fun, and I love helping agents out, and I love helping grow a company that I'm a share of, and so if you guys are not out there, sharing EXP with your friends that are agents, with just people that you like and trust, and agents that you're doing deals with on the other side of the transaction, you guys need to, because this is recruiting season right now. From right now until about February of next year, this is recruiting season. Agents are kind of slowing down, taking a little break, analyzing their business, and if they're looking to make a move, this is the time, right? Especially kind of with the market that's shifted, as we all know. Agents are looking to save money. They're looking to make more money, right? And this is a great opportunity for them to move their business over, especially boutique brokers, right? I've got a meeting set next week with a boutique broker that has 398 agents, and he's heard of EXP a long time ago, and he had a big ego, and his guard was down, and I connected with him at the right time a few months ago, and so he's really looking to expand and grow. And I told him this one thing. I said, hey, I can't say any names, whatever, because I told him it'd be 100% confidential. But I said, hey, just imagine those 398 agents turning into, 4,000 agents, 5,000 agents, 10,000 agents eventually, paying you over 6 figures a month in revenue share. And he's like, I just don't see how that can happen. And so I shared with them the video. I shared with them, answered his questions. And so now we're moving forward with bigger and better conversations. And of course, I'm going to, get corporate involved as well too. And so it's all about just sharing the model. I learned this from Gene Frederick, and he said, whoever has the most at-bats is going to win, right? Whoever talks to the most agents is going to win, right? And so it's truly a numbers game, right? Just like what, Rob Flick says, if you want to take 5 listings every single month, you probably got to go on maybe 10 listing appointments. You may not get every single one of them, hopefully you do. But you probably got to go on 10 listing appointments to get 5 listings. If you want to work with 5 buyers, you probably got to connect with, 10 or 15 buyers or so to work with, 5 new buyers every single month. Just the same. If you want to recruit, 5 new agents every single month, then you probably got to talk to, maybe 15, 30, 40, 50 agents or so. I just brought on a new person actually this morning that is brand new in the industry. And she was kind of watching some of my videos on YouTube and reached out to me, scheduled a time after watching a lot of my videos. And she says, you know what, you guys have made EXP so easy to explain it. Those videos did all of the explaining. Now I just have a few personal questions. I want you to be my sponsor, and I want you to help me find a great mentor in kind of the North Dallas area. I said, absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we're here for, right? And so it's a lot of fun. And so I talk to a lot of agents all the time. I do a lot of 3-way phone calls, and I've learned it from the best. I've learned it from Jay Kinder, from Michael Reese, from Brent Gove, Rich Tomasini. I've learned it from a lot of the best. Scott Lewis, my great mentor. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. I just tell the agents, it's keep it simple. A lot of agents trying to explain everything like I did my first 6 months. And Gene Frederick said, Pat, you need to slow down to go fast. Slow down. I know you got a ton of energy and you just want to share EXP with everybody about revenue share and stock and our training and our mentor. And this agent just joined, this broker just joined. I was agent 806 whenever I joined the organization. Whenever I joined the EXP, I was agent 806. Now we have 88,000 agents or so. I'm number 17 in the whole entire company with a revenue share group of over 5,200 agents, right? And so it didn't happen overnight, but it can happen. And you just got to start with sharing the model with those agents, right? And so if you don't mind, I can share. I got a quick little PowerPoint presentation. I'm just going to kind of go through real quick. You guys feel free, take some notes or just take some screenshots, whatever. Can you guys see everything? And so
Nope.
I made years
Can
ago.
everybody see?
Can you guys see it? Let's see.
No.
Can you see it?
No,
No?
that's odd.
I don't see it.
No, I'm sharing my screen here. Let's see here. Let me try it again here. There we go.
There we go. That worked.
There we go.
Now we see
Okay,
it.
okay. So I made this a few years ago whenever one of my good friends that's not even in my RevShore organization, Randy Bennell in San Antonio, he's in another organization, but we have the same sponsor. He said, you know what? We had so many phone calls from so many agents frustrated about not knowing really what to do, what to say, and how to grow their organization. And I said, well, Randy, what can we do? Can we put something together? Let's start some trainings. And so we did this for about 2 or 3 years. Oh goodness, I think 4 or 5 years ago. I guess it was about 4 years ago. We did it for 2 years, and then COVID kind of shut us down or whatever. But we were literally just put on events all across the country and do events to educate agents how to build their revenue share organization. And these are some of my slides, but it's got some great nuggets, right? And so I call it kind of the 6 steps to effective agent attraction. And it all starts with, of course, I'll go through one each at a time, but mindset, how to build your list, scripts to invite, how to expose the model to the agents, how to follow up, when to follow up, and then training and plugging into events for duplications, because as we all know, events are huge, right? And so it all starts with mindset, right? If you're not in a good mind, and for me, like I learned this in medical sales, I'm a performer. I've got to feel good, look good to perform good, right? If I'm not on my A game, if I don't feel like I'm dressed, nicely, or if I don't feel good and I, headache or tired or sluggish, I'm not in the right mindset, right? And so get in the right mindset to do agent attraction, right? You don't want to be down or not feeling good or have low energy whenever you're talking to these agents, right? So get in a good mindset, right? Then what? Building your list, right? Do not prejudge any agents, right? Nothing starts without the list. Don't let your ego get in the way, and don't say no for other people. Don't say, oh, that agent or that broker or that team leader is never going to talk to me, or that agent's too big or going to laugh at me, right? So don't prejudge, right? But it all starts with building that list. Put it on paper. Brent Gove, he carries around if you know him, he carries around a yellow pad and scribbles all of his notes on a yellow pad, right? But that's how he stays organized, right? Or if you want to do an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to do. I've got lists on my phone. I've got lists on my whiteboard, my home office. I've got lists kind of everywhere of my top 10, top 15, top 30, whatever it is, right? So just stay organized. Warm market, your sphere of influence, right? Ask your friends and family and associates, who they know that are in real estate. Agents you already know, agents you're already doing deals with, right? I did a deal my second year in real estate with a RE/MAX agent that took almost 90 days to get to the closing table. We finally got that deal done. Now that agent, I built such a great relationship with that agent. Whenever I joined EXP, I reached out to that agent, and now that agent's with EXP. Power base, lawyers, CPAs, doctors, financial planners. I got to tell you guys this quick story. If you guys don't know who Kyle Handy is, he's one of my agents that I brought on board in San Antonio, Texas. Funny story. He was a boutique broker in San Antonio. I knew him, for a while. I knew he was very successful. He had a small team of about 20, 25 agents in San Antonio. And whenever I joined EXP, he was on kind of my top 10, 15 list, whatever, to reach out to. Well, I reached out to him several times. He never returned my phone call. He never returned my text messages. And I was getting to the point where I was getting frustrated, right? And I had, he liked some of my posts on social media, on Facebook, that I had just recently joined EXP, but would never take the time to actually sit down and talk to me about EXP and why I joined. And so I knew his mom. And so I met, I saw his mom at one of the first meetings of the year, the market update of the year in January. And I said, hey, I need to talk to Kyle about EXP. Please help me set an appointment. Oh, no, Pat, he's a boutique broker. He'll never talk to you about EXP. He's already got his business going. He's growing. He'll never talk to you. I said, okay. So I was kind of crushed. Well, I went to my CPA's office and we ended up having the same CPA. I said, Ed Guerrero, I need you to help me get a meeting with Kyle Handy. I want to talk to him about moving his boutique brokerage firm over to EXP. He said, man, he's a tough one. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll definitely try my hardest. And so Ed called him up and said, hey, I think you need to take a look at, what Pat's got going on over there at EXP. His numbers are starting to be pretty big. And we had a meeting together. I think at least just have a lunch meeting with us, have an open mind. And so he set that appointment. And that lunch meeting, I finally closed Kyle Handy. And Kyle Handy's got a huge YouTube channel. He's got a big organization. I think he's close to 500-600 agents now, which is in my organization as well too. Provides a lot of training, very knowledgeable. In that opportunity that day at that lunch, he finally had an open mind, and I convinced him to show him a better model, how to grow his business. And still to this day, he says that I've been able to change his life and his family's life, and let him have time freedom and financial freedom as a realtor. So he was able to give up his office. His team's growing from 25 agents to 600 agents. He's got a lot of training going on, and just a great story. So don't be afraid to reach out to your lawyers and to your CPAs and your doctors, financial planners. They all know realtors, trust me. Affiliates, title companies, inspectors, mortgage partners, stagers, real estate attorneys again, and moving companies. Another one right here. I learned this from Gene Frederick. Title companies. Reach out to title companies and say, hey, who's your newest up-and-comer realtor that you're working with right now? Somebody that's been in the business for a year or two that's just absolutely crushing it. I want to talk to them about the EXP model. They're not with EXP already, right? So it works. I've done that, and I've been able to attract a few agents from my title companies, and of course some inspectors. They all work with realtors, mortgage partners, stagers, real estate attorneys, and then moving companies. I've had a few referrals of new agents from my mover that I've used in San Antonio for 7 years now, and we built a great relationship. We travel together with our families. We go hunting trips and stuff like that. So he knows the EXP model. He's not a realtor, but he knows that if a realtor complains to him, call Pat at EXP. So tap in your resources, right? Agents you've done deals with, again, agents, from your past brokerage firm. Again, I had about 4 or 5 follow me. And then again, Facebook, I've attracted a lot of agents off of Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, other social media outlets. They're huge, right? Agents are watching you. They may not like, comment, or share your post about EXP, but be happy and share all of those memes that EXP provides to us, and just be excited about EXP, right? Trust me, agents, whenever they have something that's hurting them, or something that upsets them, and their broker upsets them, trust me, they're going to reach out to you and say, you know what, I think it's time for me to have a look and talk to you a little bit more about EXP. My broker did this. My broker raised my splits and my caps, or whatever it is. Creating new contacts, right? Open houses are huge. I love going in open houses. For one, I like to see the house, and then for two, if it's a Keller Williams agent or a Remax agent or a Century 21 agent that I don't know, I want to go in there and connect and network, right? Networking events are huge. And again, the 10 continuing education classes, go to destination classes. I know with COVID, we had to do a lot of them via Zoom, but now they're starting to be back live events. And again, the 10 board meetings, I've attracted a lot of agents from just doing CE classes in the classroom. So again, scripts, right? This is kind of a tough one. Everybody's different. I've kind of got my own scripts that I use. Other agents have their own scripts, whatever. But you can use scripts, you cannot use scripts, you can use a little bit of both, whatever. But I always just say, go to brentgove.com, and go take a look at a lot of the scripts, a lot of the resources that Brent puts out. Brent and James, they've got a ton of knowledge and a ton of resources to help out the agents, not only with agent attraction, but also with helping them out with their real estate business with buyers and sellers. Why should you use scripts? Again, I like this, quote right here from Bill Gates. There's no secret. I simply showed the plan to 1,200 people, 900 said no, and only 300 signed up. Out of those 300, only 85 did anything at all. Out of those 85, only 35 were serious. And out of those 35, 11 made me a multi-millionaire. Guys, I've shared this with a lot of agents, right? And I've personally sponsored 65 agents to the organization in just almost 7 years, right? That's really not a lot, right? There's other agents that have personally sponsored a lot more. But out of those 65, I've grown a revenue share organization of over 5,200 agents. I didn't personally sponsor 5,200, but I just personally sponsored those 65. That's turned into over 5,200 agents, spanning the 47 states, 5 Canadian provinces, and 16 countries. What do you need to do now? Practice and then what, right? So you've got to expose the model to the agents either way, right? I'm a big proponent of lunch and learns. We host huge lunch and learns in San Antonio. I've been doing it for about 4.5, 5 years. My biggest one, I had 88 agents at my lunch and learn in that room right there at a restaurant that we've been doing it for about 4.5 years. And we had 25 guests that were licensed realtors, not with EXP. My biggest lunch and learn I've ever done on a Friday there in San Antonio, right? So get with your lender partner. He's one of my sponsors. Title Company is another one of my sponsors. We love lunch and learns, and it's a lot of fun. Love sharing the model. We do it on a Friday at 12 o'clock. I've got a lender sponsor that pays for the agents' lunches that are not with EXP and they're licensed. And then I have my title company. They open up the bar for a little happy hour afterwards. Everybody gets one drink. And we have agents literally opening up their laptops and signing up for EXP right then and there before they even leave the lunch and learn. Unbelievable, so powerful. And again, the video, themodelexplained.com, great video to use. Of course, it's Brent Gove sharing the model, and it's absolutely unbelievable. He does a great job. He's charismatic and knows the model, and he's got a great story as well too. So EXP has definitely changed his life. And so themodelexplained.com, if you guys haven't watched it, go and watch it 2 or 3 times. Trust me, every single time you watch it, you'll pick something up and learn from it. And again, corporate events. The EXP shareholder summits, and then again, EXPCon, big decisions are made at big events. I've learned that from the leaders. Big decisions are made at big events. And I've brought a ton of agents to these events, and they just fall in love with, corporate and our atmosphere and our culture and meeting all the other agents, hearing success stories. So get to those events. They definitely help, and definitely invite some guests. 5 reasons you didn't get your prospect to sign up. Right? And it's number 1 right there. You failed to follow up, right? I learned this from Gene Frederick. It's all about the FU, follow up, follow up, follow up, right? You share all this greatness, all these videos with the agents, but if you don't follow up with them and get them on the phone with a third-party professional, a 3-way phone call with myself, with one of your other leaders, then you're kind of wasting your time and you're wasting their time, right? So you build your list and then you expose that list with the video or with the lunch and learn or whatever it is, right? And then it's all about the follow-up, right? So definitely follow up. Wealth chart and revenue share, right? So go Google Rob Flick's wealth chart training and make a wealth chart, right? And so here's some examples of one of his, whenever he first made his. There's an example of my home office a few years ago with my wealth charts and some of my agents, my top agents, and of course a lot of my goals there that I get to visualize every single day. So definitely make a wealth chart and a vision board. If you guys don't have a vision board, make a vision board with the family. We did this a few years ago with my kiddos, and I've been able to check off almost every single one of those pictures on there because of the revenue share, right? So have fun with it. If you understood residual income, you would walk through a brick wall to get it. Guys, it's so powerful. It really, really, really is, especially during this time right now. And I'll tell you guys a story here in a second, though. The power of revenue share. This is one of my agents. I'm almost done here real quick. Bob Mangold. And he had a bad accident a few years ago, which set him back, quite a bit. And thank goodness for the power of revenue share. Because, ask yourself this, could you work with buyers if this was you? Could you take a listing if this was you? Maybe not, right? He fell off the roof during a bad storm, trying to put a tarp on a hole in his roof, and fell 2 stories. And he was in the hospital for several weeks and rehab for several months. So very, very hard. The only thing that kills frustration is action. Guys, very powerful, right? Take massive action. If you guys are frustrated where you're at in your business, the time is now. Start setting goals. Don't wait until January 2nd to start setting your goals and start taking massive action and building your pipeline for next year, right? Start now, right? A lot of agents are going to be taking a month or a month, half, 2 months off. And then it's going to take them 2 or 3 months to kind of get geared up and start ramped up for next year. Start now so you don't have to lose, the first 2 months of next year. How many success stories do you need to hear before you start creating your own? Guys, I hear a ton of success stories. I hear a lot of other agents making bigger and better rev share checks than I do, right? I want that, right? I'm still working my tail off, right? I'm still having fun. I'm still sharing the model. And guys, this is a lot of fun, a lot of fun. One day you'll ask me how I'm able to live like I do, and I'll say I tried to show you. So powerful, right? Very, very powerful. Revenue share is powerful. Glenn Sanford built a beautiful business model that is changing agents' lives just because of the revenue share. We're building our own brokerage inside of the eXp brokerage. Very true right there. Guys, leave it right there. It's on like Donkey Kong, baby. So that is my little presentation right there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a lot of information. It was fast. I like to have fun, and I want you guys to have fun as well too. And I'm here to help and serve you guys as well, right? I recognize a lot of faces on here as well. A lot of new faces that I don't. I'd love to get to know you and connect with you. And I do a lot of three-way phone calls. I'm traveling out to South Carolina this week to do a big presentation in Greenville, South Carolina, for a huge team and a lot of agents that are not even a revenue share group. That's fine. I don't care, because if I help and serve and help grow this company, we all win, because hopefully we want that to go up, and we all win if we all come together. Just like what Brent Gove said, one team, one dream, Team EXP, baby.
I love it. Okay, that second to last slide, Becky and I we both were like, why didn't we listen to this sooner? What was wrong with us? So the people that were, trying to tell us, they could say like, hey, we tried to show you, you just weren't ready to listen. But it's very inspiring because, we all can look back to 5 or 7 years ago. It doesn't feel like it's that long ago. And, our lives could look very, very differently. In fact, I just had my 5-year anniversary with my husband, and he said, yeah, it's true. You can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. And it was a little bit of a joke. We're married, and he's like, I didn't think you'd find yourself in North Idaho, did you? And I said, geographically, you could literally find yourself anywhere in 5 years. But it just reminds me that, 5 years goes by very, very fast. But we got to be doing the daily activities, and we can't get discouraged by what it looks like today. We've got to be inspired by what it can look like in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. Because by the way, you guys, every person that comes on these calls on Mondays has their own story, but it wasn't overnight. And yet the success is what we're hearing from Pat. So how many of these stories do you have to hear to realize this is real? You just got to figure out what you need to do every day to make it happen for you.
That's
What's interesting, Cari, and I wanted to say this to Pat too, is when you said that about 2015, it was like a dagger went into my heart, and you literally broke it off in my chest. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I was heavily recruited in 2015 by someone who right now has a huge revenue share. Now, I just came on with the XP, and I entered into, I'm in business with Cari because I believe in that upline. And yet at the same time, I look where you are. And I was with the person the company you were talking about, KW. I just left there. And I think about how much profit share I have versus how much revenue share I could have had I gone in 2015 when you went. And it literally makes me want to just die. So
I hear you.
So
I hear those
awesome.
I hear those stories
So
every day.
inspired.
Yeah, I hear those stories every day. And it's true, and a lot of agents that I reached out to when I joined.
Hold on a second. Lisa, can you stop sharing your screen? For some reason, it popped up. I don't know why.
Oh, we're doing some accounting work. We're doing some accounting work
I don't know
now.
why. That was random. And there she is.
Yeah. No, yeah, real
Never
quick.
know
I'll hit
what
on this.
Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll hit on this. Some of those agents that I reached out to whenever I first joined in 2015 and 2016 that laughed at me have already reached back out to me a few years later, or is still reaching out to me saying, you know what, I should have taken you a little bit more serious, because I see what EXP has done. I see what you have done. And you know what, the time is now. I can't wait any longer. I don't want to be left behind. And so they joined, but they always say, dang it, I would have taken that phone call a little bit more seriously 6 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
It happens. Yeah.
So what do you tell people that are, Cari, I hope you don't mind if I ask this question.
Oh my gosh,
And I think
you
I
got
hope
this.
everybody will kind of be like, okay, yeah, I'm weighted by bated breath, for the answer to this question. I have two. One is, what is your response to those that do say, hey, EXP has grown so much. What's left for me?
I hear that all the time. And I say, listen, some of my leaders, I said, hey, you know what? We haven't even scratched the surface yet. We're less than 100,000 agents. And our fearless leader, Brent Gove, says this all the time in his presentation. He's a firm believer in the next 8 to 9 years, EXP will be doing business in 40 plus country and 1 million agents strong.
Wow.
So the garage, this is still, you know, the opportunity to still come on board and still build something very massive, because you know what? You don't need a lot of agents. You know what? Yes, making 6 figures a month, and you tell this to any agent, you know, that's just, oh my, they can't fathom that. They're like, no way, that's not for me. I can't do that. But if I tell an agent, hey, if I can help you make an extra 10, 15, $20,000 extra a month in revenue share, would that change your life? Well, heck, that would change anybody's life, right? And that's very, very doable. And you can do that in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I do want to, and my second question, thank you for answering that, because I love that answer, because having come from a company that does have a lot of agents, it's like you're thinking to yourself, how much bigger can this get? And it's so awesome to hear that about 1 million plus agents, and not only hear it, but believe it. After going to EXP Con, I've never been to EXP Con. If you haven't been, go. I went and I left thinking there's nothing that can stop this. There's this train, because there's buy-in from everybody, right?
That's right.
So how did you get Kyle to say yes? Share with us.
How
Did you get, I want to hear the details.
Well, you know, and again, I think he was a little upset at the meeting. He was, you know, he had his guard down for, you know, it was about a 3-hour lunch. The first 30, 45 minutes, it was a little awkward. But you know, I was kind of sharing with them what I was doing and why I made the move, and you know, the potential of the revenue share and the stock. And you know, he sells a lot of real estate, so I said, hey, you know, you would become an icon agent and get your full cap back in the form of company stock, and then you know, imagine those 25 agents turning into 500 agents. I mean, I said those exact words and those exact numbers, and get an extra $30,000-$40,000 a month in revenue share on top of your production and on top of your stock. He's a 4-time icon agent, so he's built some massive wealth. And I told him where the stock was at, you know, hopefully where it could be and where, you know, where it could grow, and you know, just how much fun we were having. And he's a big coach and a trainer. And I said, you know, we're looking for leaders like you. And so basically just selling him the dream and showing him that EXP could help him check off all the boxes of the things that he wants to do within his business, because he had a huge office. You know, he's paying $7,000 a month in overhead in his office, and his agents never came, you know? Wow. Oh yeah. And I said, hey, listen, I can help you start saving money, and then I can help you start building money. It's not going to happen overnight, but trust me, if you follow me and follow the process, we can do this together. Oh my God, you talk to him any day. He shares that story on stage everywhere he goes, because he was like, Pat changed my life because I was not open-minded. I did not return his messages, did not return his phone calls. He had to go over my mom. My mom said no. He had to go to our CPA for me to actually sit down and listen to him about the opportunity. And thank goodness he listened to our CPA, because this opportunity has changed his life. And so, you know, it was based, I wasn't selling him. I was just kind of showing him, right? He finally listened. Hey, okay, now listen to me a little bit more, right? I can tell you all this, but listen how we can do it. Let's put it down, pen and paper, and let's get a game plan together, and let's do it. And within like 2 years, he was making like $12,000 a month in revenue share. He offloaded his office. That saved him $7,000 a month. He offloaded all of his technology to his team because EXP gave all the agents, you know, KV Core. I mean, he was able to save like $15,000 a month within about the first year. And then his revenue share started growing. And then he was an icon agent. He got his cap back, and he was an icon agent again the second year. And then his revenue share kept on growing. So we made a list, and we wrote it down on paper, followed the path and followed our ideas, and we made it happen. And still to this day, he's forever grateful, and so on. So am I. For you know,
found his pain point, basically.
I did. That's right. Yeah, I found his pain points, and he was a broker owner, and he was like, Pat, I still have to sell real estate because my agents really weren't selling a lot of real estate. I had to cover all the bills. I had to
we talked about that, right?
Yeah. Well, that is the reality of most. And so, you know, I've had conversations with broker owners, and many of us have. And I think one of the things that's interesting that you say is sometimes you have to get them to think a little bit differently because they're used to having the office space or having the staff or having all the things. And sometimes you have to give it transition time because to change everything all at once is going to be too disruptive. And that's okay. But to try to have some different plans of adopting as much within EXP as possible to unload time, expenses, both are important, right? To be able to then focus on more growth and be able to expand into different areas and not be only available to grow in one location. And I think at first it seems like a bigger task because they're so hyper-focused on their local growth. That seems so hard. And it is kind of in the way they're doing it. But when they can see a bigger vision and then start to make those small changes, then it's reducing expenses, increasing income. And it's a slow but sure. It's not necessarily an overnight. There are some instances where we've talked to broker owners where they're going to make money right away. But in most cases, it's a slow transition. So we've got to bring people in that can help them understand that and make that plan. And I think that's a critical part of that.
Yep. And also real quick, not only did Kyle come over with this whole entire team, but I got his mom over to EXP as well too.
Nice.
Hey, that's good.
Well, the story there that I like is that you ended up talking to the accountant or the CFO, who then was able to go to them and say, why aren't you doing this? And so, who are those decision makers? Who do they trust? Some of the top producers, some of the largest brokerages, they're not in the weeds of their financials as much as you think they are. And they might not be able to make this decision because they don't even see the benefit because they don't even know how much they're making or spending on a regular basis. So even just asking that question, what a great idea.
Yep. It works.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. Yeah. Get out there and ask those questions and talk to those agents. That's it. Find a way. Find a way. Yeah. Get through that barrier.
Yeah.
Cari, there's a question on here and I have to jump up too because I have a 2 o'clock. There's a question real quick. So if we have been in the chat, I'm assuming you're talking about workplace.
Yep. So you'll go into EXP family tree. Yep. And then that's where we post everything. I copy paste everything and I put it under the live stream in EXP family tree. So you can grab all these links again. You can copy them right now. If you open up your chat, copy and paste for yourself and send it to yourself in an email or something if you want to, but otherwise you can always find information from the chat, links, etc., right in our EXP family tree. And you can find Pat on Workplace and you can work Chatham if you'd like to. I know he gave that up and offered that. So we greatly appreciate your time today. This is going to be on my YouTube channel. Pat will send you a copy of the recording. It is live streamed forever in EXP Family Tree. We've had a number of people watching live there. So thanks to you all again. And thanks for you guys to be here. Super inspirational, super motivational. You guys, 7 years is going to be here like this. Start making these calls. Take some action today. We know you can do it.
Yep. Don't waste any more time. Hey guys, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it, Cari.
Thanks everyone.
All right, bye guys.